Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host Mike Lepre, here with my co-host Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
We are on to our final episode of our 7-part prediction series to kick off the 2020 season. And for this episode, we'll be going through division by division, postseason series by postseason series, and award by award, and we will be giving our overall predictions. So to start, we're going to go division by division, and we will start in the AL East. So, you want to kick it off, Frank, or you want me to start?
Sure, I'll start us off. Why not, right?
All right.
So, in the AL East here, we kind of did a deep dive of each team here already, our first episode. But just to kind of a brief overview of them and kind of where we really intend to place them, more detailed of the actual team, record instead of like the breakdown of each player.
Mm-hmm.
So the Yankees here, I had them at 104 and 58. That's, of course, with our 162 game schedule, which we don't know if that's going to be the case going forward, but that's what all our predictions are. So I had them at 104 and 58, winning the division. I had the Rays at 92 and 70, coming in second, obviously. Third, I had the Red Sox 83 and 79, and the Blue Jays I had 79 and 83. Orioles, obviously, at the bottom, 58 and 104, with that, team trying to rebuild. That's pretty much where I had the AL East, so.
Okay, I had the division in the same order. I just had the records a little different, which is, 162 game season. You never know what's going to happen. I've got the Yankees at 105 and 57 winning the division. I've got the Rays at 95 and 67 winning the wild card. I've got the Red Sox, who recently big blow to them losing Chris Sale. I've got them even.
Was.
I've got them dead even 81 and 81. The Blue Jays I got a little under 500, 79 and 83. And I've got the Orioles in last going 56 and 106, which in hindsight is a little rough on them, but
It's realistic.
Yeah. Go back to it. Episode 1 is a deep dive into our AL East division. You can check it out there. Moving on here, we've got the AL Central, which again we did a deep dive into them in episode 2. Go ahead, Frank. What do you think?
The AL Central, was one of them crazy divisions where you don't really know what's going to happen, as we talked about in episode 2 of our podcast. But overall, I see the Twins winning the division at 96 and 66. Then I had the White Sox coming in second, 85 and 77. Young team, but I think there's going to be some highs, there's going to be some lows. I just, I could easily see them winning 90 games, but I also could see them, right around 500. So I got them 85 and 77, having a, pretty good year.
Mm-hmm.
Have the Indians at 80 and 82. Royals 61 and 101. Just because they played hard last year. I don't know. I just kind of seen them, so I feel like they're not going to be like obviously 101 losses isn't great, but compared to some of these other teams, could be worse. Especially here, I got the Tigers at 58 and 104 as well, like I did with the Orioles, and those two teams are probably arguably your worst teams in baseball. And actually, I have them as the worst teams in baseball. So
yeah, I've actually we have a lot of similarities in that division. Again, we have the same order. Twins I got winning the division with 97 and 65. White Sox actually got a few more wins, 89 and 73. I think that just with this division, I think they're going to feast off the bottom two teams a little bit, and I think they'll
definitely.
Indians I got the same 80 and 82. They're going to fall right around, or in this case, right below 500. Royals I got them 63 and 99, mainly because I just don't know, like putting the tagline of a 100 loss team. I think that they might be just that one win better than a 100 loss team, but again, they're 99 losses isn't something to celebrate.
No.
And below them, I got the Tigers, like you had, 58 104. They're just those two bottom teams are not looking too great. But again, you can check out episode 2 for our deep dive into each roster and what we think of the team as a whole. Moving on to our final team in the American League, we got the AL West. So go ahead, Frank.
On the AL West here, now this is going to be a fun division. We talked about it, of course, episode 3. Deep dive into it and some of the issues that plague that division. And the biggest issue in that division is the Astros, obviously. And I had the Astros actually still winning the division because of the talent there.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I wanted them to, because I really want the A's to win that division. I really think the A's can easily win that division.
Mm-hmm.
But just looking at talent and pure, superstar ability on that team, I think that the Astros have a slight edge. So I had the Astros at 102 and 60, but it's going to be a big uphill climb from what they dealt with. But I think Dusty Baker is the guy that could, get them to keep them on the right spot, track, I should say. I have the A's at 98 and 64. That's a great team out there. They're going to be dangerous. I had the Angels at 500 because they always are at 500. The lineup got better this year. I think the pitching's actually going to be better this year. But still, I think they're going to be about 500 just because the division's tough. And it's going to be a lot of new moving parts this year. So it's going to be hard to kind of get a good start to the season. So I think it's going to be like a little bit, not a struggle to the start of the season, but like a 500 jump. And it's going to be hard to kind of, race to the top of the division.
Yeah. No,
But
I hear you.
definitely have some talent. So
Yeah.
I had the Rangers 73 to 89, mostly because of the division strength. Because there's definitely some talent in that team, as we've seen last year. First half of the year, they were in the hunt. But they're going to be about 73 and 89. I have them new stadium, so who knows? I got the Mariners at 66 and 96, and that might even be they might be another 100-loss team. But I had them 66 and 96. I think they'll fight their way out of the 100 losses, but they could easily fall under for sure.
Yeah. No, I agree. Similar to the other AL divisions, I think the AL is a little bit easier of a league than the NL. We'll get to that in a sec, but I got the Astros win the division at 162. And actually, if all this coronavirus stuff hadn't gone on and the season didn't get delayed, I think that the Astros are so demoralized. If this had just gone on like a normal spring training and into a normal season, I think that the Athletics could very well have won this division. But I think now that with some breathing room now, with people are less concerned about the Astros and more concerned about what's going on in the world, I think that the Astros are kind of get that little bit of breathing room that they need, and I think that they'll end up winning the division now. But right behind them, I got the A's 96 and 66. I got them winning the other wild card. The Angels, I got right below them, a little above 500, 83 and 79, still kind of hovering, kind of that middle point. The Rangers, I got right below them with 75 and 87. I think, like you said, I think that they're going to be at the bottom with this powerful division, but I don't think that they'll really make any sort of 75 and 87 is just kind of there. They're not really they're not getting to 500 or having a winning season, but they're improving. I do actually like that team. But Mariners, like you said, actually could be a 100-loss team. I don't have them at 100 losses. I've got them 65 and 97, which is right around where you had them. So, another division pretty top-heavy. But I think a team to watch would be the Athletics and maybe even the Angels.
Definitely,
you never know what could happen.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the American League. Moving on to the National League. This is where we started to see some prediction differences. So go ahead. You can go first on the NL East.
All right, so the NL East here could easily be the best division in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And easily could be a muddled division where there's not much high records.
Mm-hmm.
But I got the Braves at 101-61.
Mm-hmm.
They got a dominant roster. I think no matter what, they're going to be good. They're going to be at 100, over 100 wins.
Mm-hmm.
The Phillies, I have second, 86 and 76. I think they're going to have a bounce back year from last year. Last year, just kind of everything went wrong for them. A lot of injuries. Harper's first year there. There's a lot of stuff going on. I think this year they'll bounce back. New manager Girardi should help. I got the Nationals at 78 and 84. I see the World Series hangover. The roster they got really hot last year to win it. They had to get super hot last year to win.
Yeah.
And you see how bad they started the year.
Then they lost Rendon.
Yeah. So I just don't see them really, making a push. But you never know with them for sure. I had the Mets at 77 and 85. I just think that with the off-season problems they had with the Beltran and the new owners not actually taking over, and I think of the past concerns with injuries, obviously, and Cespedes coming back, is Jed Lowry coming back? Can Syndergaard find consistency? Can you really expect DeGrom to continue being the Cy Young every year? So there's a lot of questions that need answered. Diaz, is he going to bounce back? Familia, is he going to pitch better? So there's a lot of questions out there, and I just don't see. I really don't see them putting it really all together. So I had them at 77-85. Then I got the Marlins at 65-97, which is not great for them. They got got a decent team now, and they got some young guys, and they definitely play hard. They always play hard, but with that division and obviously a rebuilding team, they're obviously going to be at the bottom.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with the Marlins part, but other than that, I've actually got a little bit different of the middle of the division here. So I've got the Braves win the division, 98 and 64. I think that team's just really good, and I think that the MLB predictions are really really tough on them. But I think that team's going to be really good. In second place, I got the Mets at 91 and 71, winning one of the wild cards. I think that this team is really good, and if for once they could have a little luck on their side, if the people that are key players for them can stay healthy, and I really think that Edwin Diaz is going to have a comeback year. He can't pitch worse than he did last year. I think that even if he had a 4 ERA, for them, that's a success compared to last year.
Yeah, too.
And yeah, so I mean, I think the bullpen can really only get better, barring, of course, injuries with the Mets. I don't see them being like a super team, but I think that they'll catch a wild card, and I think that they, could maybe cause some problems. But behind them, I've got the Phillies at 87 and 75. Another team I actually could see a world where the Phillies get second and get that wild card over the Mets, just because with Girardi in there and Didi, and they've injected a little life into that roster, and they've already got a good roster. So, and then behind them, I've got the World Series defending Nats at 84 and 78. This team doesn't, other than their pitching, really, really, really impress me. And I think fourth is harsh, but they're still at 84 and 78. They could just as easily finish third or hell even second. I could see it. And then in last, I got the same record as you, the Marlins, 65 and 97. It's just, I like the team, but I mean, it's hard in this division to call them anything but the basement dwelling team. Moving on, we got the NL Central here. Again, another division that I think we had some differing opinions on. So go ahead and kick this one off.
Yeah, the NL Central is definitely a toss-up division as well. There's a lot of teams out here that a couple teams out here I should say that I like, but there's a lot of teams out here that could win. 4 out of the 5 teams could win this division. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely a good division. I have the Cardinals winning this division, and I have them with actually a pretty high record. I could easily see them being a couple wins less than I have them, but I have them here at 97 and 65. I really think they have a great veteran team. I think they're gonna have some bounce back guys like Carpenter. Wainwright kind of figured out how to pitch at his older age these last about 2 years. Molina's still playing good. Goldsmith's only gonna have a better year. They got some young outfielders that are gonna play well. So I see them really bouncing back strong. Not really to bounce back, they were in the NLCS last year.
Yeah.
But I really see them having a really good year this year, and I really see them winning a bunch of games. I have the Reds at 89 and 73. It's another really good team, made a lot of additions, have a lot of young talent as it is. They made some good moves with getting Castellanos. So I mean they're going to be a really tough team to beat. I got the Brewers at 83 and 79, just because their pitching is a mess really. You got Hader and you got Brandon Woodruff, and that's about it really pitching wise. Decent lineup, obviously. Actually, they got a pretty strong lineup with Yelich in there, but yeah, it's going to be their pitching is going to really hold them back, and it's, tough division too. It's going to beat them up.
Yeah,
I got the Cubs at 79 and 83. They still got some talent, but with all the trade talks with Bryant and all the team's kind of falling apart. It's starting to kind of unwind, and just kind of they lost their window. I think is about shut, and this team could easily bounce back. It'd be at the top of the division, but I think it's just they're at this point where they're just making their last, ditch efforts to really keep this team, in the hunt. But I think this is, they're about at the end of their window, and they're going to be losing some guys at free agency and trading guys away. So I think it's gonna, it's gonna be a hard year for them.
Yeah.
And I got the Pirates at 69 and 93. They got some young talent, but there's not much there for them this year to really make a big jump. The division, but you never know. They could definitely get hot and get into the mid 70s and wins, but I think mostly they're going to be in the 60s, and I got them at 69 and 93, like I mentioned. So
okay, well I've got different order. I've basically got the top 2 teams and then the middle 2 teams. If you just flip flop them, that's where I've got them almost to the exact record. So I've actually got the Reds within the division at 96 and 66. I just really like this team. A lot of big moves, and I think that they're primed and ready to take that division. And right behind them, I've got the Cardinals at 92 and 70, winning the wild card. But I could just as easily, how you're seeing it, with the Cardinals getting those big wins, having 97 wins, and the Reds coming in second and probably getting that wild card. I could just as easily see that flip-flop scenario because both teams are just really good. But I've got the Cardinals in second, 92 and 70, getting the home field advantage in the wild card game. Behind them, I've got the Cubs at 82 and 80, just a hair above 500. I just like the Cubs pitching better than the Brewers, which is why I put them in third, but not by much. I put the Brewers in fourth at 79-83, just a little below 500. I just think that even though the Brewers, you could argue, have the better lineup and better bullpen, I think that the starting pitching is going to make the difference there in those the 3-game difference there. And then, like you said, I got the Pirates in last. I got them 70 and 92, hovering right around 70 wins, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. But they, to me, out of all the other teams, clearly seem like the team that's going to come in fifth. So that's the NL Central, and then last but not least, we've got the NL West. So what do you think about this division?
Well, I think this division's kind of it's not much different. I think everyone's pretty much got the same.
Yeah.
It's very top heavy, and the rest of it's kind of bland, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I got the Dodgers at 107 and 55. I got them winning a lot of games. They have a lot of energy out there. Mookie Betts. They got a couple of young pitchers. The All-Star game's supposed to be out there. They got kind of a chip on their shoulder. So I got them winning 107-55. I got the Padres at 83 and 79. Young team coming along. I still think they need pitching. They didn't get that big ace yet, so I think they're still going to need some pitching. So I think they're going to, kind of hover around 500. But they can get hot and make a push for the wild card. But I think they'll be right about where I have them there, 83 and 79. I got the Rockies at 78 and 84. That's probably maybe a touch higher than some people have them. I think the Rockies still have a really, really good lineup. They still have some real good young players. And I like the team. So I'm going to root for them. So I got them maybe a couple games higher than, other people do. I got Diamondbacks 76 and 86 just because, I don't understand what they're doing. They're buying players, but they're still selling their good players away. They're in a weird spot. I think Bumgarner going from a very pitcher-friendly ballpark and going to a very, very hitter-friendly ballpark in the same division is not going to make his numbers look very good. Also getting older. They did get Starlin Marte. I got Ketel Marte, but I think Ketel Marte, he's a really good player. It's hard to have the same year he had. So there's a lot of, David Peralta, is he going to come back and play good? So, I think they could be 500 or so, maybe a couple of games over, but for the most part, I think they're going to be, third or fourth in the division. I got them at 76, 86. And I got Giants coming in last, 67, 95. There's not much talent there. There's a lot of older guys, the talent that they do have, and they're not much, Poser's not much left there. Bell, he never stays healthy. Crawford, 2 years ago, had a good year. Last year was not good. So, I also don't see much there. They definitely have some trade pieces. Trade them to a different team, and they can kind of rebuild. Prospects aren't terrible. But for this year, they're going to be at the bottom. They're going to be 67, 95. They don't got Bochy there no more. So that's going to hurt them a little bit. But they might get to 70 wins. But I can easily see them in the mid-60s, maybe even losing 100 games.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I basically got more or less the same here, just flip-flop two teams. I got Dodgers. I got them winning 103 games, 103 and 59. Not quite as many as you, but we clearly both see the Dodgers being the far and away winners of this division. Trailing behind them, I got the Padres at 85 and 77. Real good young team. I just don't think they're good enough to see the wild card game, but I think that they're right there. They really got a good young team there. In third, I got the Diamondbacks at 80 and 82. I just think that the Rockies pitching is going to be a big problem for them, and I think I could see them being sellers at the deadline, which, who knows even what's going on with all that stuff with the season, but if considering 162 games, I would see the Rockies being sellers and maybe, unfortunately for them, maybe getting rid of Arenado, which would suck, but so I've got the Diamondbacks 80 and 82, and right behind them, like I said, the Rockies at 77 and 85. But I could just as easily see those two teams switching places because the Rockies' offense is just so ridiculous. If they're not sellers at the deadline, maybe even they're buyers. Who knows? And then trailing behind them, like you said, Giants. I got them 69-93. Maybe getting 70 wins. I could see them, like you said, losing 100 games. Not much to talk about out there. They got a aging, declining team, and it just is what it is. They'll build themselves back up. It's just now's not the time. All right, so that's all the divisions, and if you're keeping track at home, we are going to talk about our wildcard teams, our division winners, and we are going to see who's going to be the World Series winner, who's going to win the wildcard games, who's going to win the Division Series games, and the Championship Series games. So let's start at the bottom, our first games, with our wildcard games. Go ahead.
So, the wildcard, I had the Rays, winning the second wildcard, and I have the A's winning the first wildcard. I have the A's beating the Rays 4-2 in the wildcard game in Oakland. I think Oakland finally going to make that step this year and break that curse kind of on them. They keep getting to this wildcard game, but they can't win it. They were away at first, and they played a home one and still lost this year. They're going to be, I think they're going to be home again. I think they're just going to be too good. They got a little bit of experience doing it. I think they're just gonna just pepper their way and pound their way through, and win this wild card game, with some strength of their bullpen and a home run or two, and and get through the wild card and maybe make some noise in the division series.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, then I out there in the NL, I got the Phillies winning the second wild card, and I have the Reds winning the first wild card. So I have Phillies at Reds. I have the Reds winning that 7-4. I think the Reds, stadium's kind of a bang box out there. I think both lineups are gonna, be obviously both lineups are gonna be dangerous. So I think there's gonna be a couple home runs hit. It's gonna be, kind of more of this new era of baseball, but it's gonna be exciting. And I think the Reds are going to win that game 7-4. It's going to be a good game, and it's going to be it's definitely two teams there that can they got some question marks, but I think the Reds really got a really good team, and I think they're going to really make some noise deep into the playoffs.
Yeah,
you'll see.
Yeah, we can definitely agree on that one. So I've got the same wild card game in the AL. I've got the Rays going to Oakland and playing the A's, and I got a final score there of 6-3. I could just as easily see that being a pitching duel with the way both teams got pitching. I could see the game finishing 2-1. But the A's are probably going to be looking for some revenge against the Rays for getting knocked out last year. So I see a 6-3 game. Like the offense is really going to come alive, especially in Oakland. I mean that park really benefits them. And then over in the NL, I've got the Metsies going to St. Louis to play the Cardinals, and that's going to be what I would assume to be a really good pitching duel. Say, DeGrom versus Flaherty. That would be unbelievable. So I've got the Cardinals beating the Mets 3-0. I think that's gonna be a pitcher's duel regardless. But I just think that the Cardinals offense is a little bit more potent potentially than the Mets. So I've got the Cardinals advancing to the division series, and I've got the A's advancing to the division series. Moving on to the division series, our 4 division series. Go ahead and start it off, Frank.
Yeah, so division series I have, I got the A's playing at the Yankees, and I have the Twins playing at the Astros. So I got the Yankees beating the A's 3-1. I think the A's kind of get past the wild card game, finally get a little run, but I think they're going to run into just a dominant team in the Yankees. Obviously with great offense, the pitching is very good, the bullpen dominant, experienced team with a chip on their shoulder. It's gonna be hard to beat them. Flying across country, it's gonna be it's gonna be hard to beat them. Mm-hmm. So I got the Yankees winning 3-1. But the Yankees got to be careful with the A's. That's a team that they never really go to Oakland and play well, and not many teams do, especially on the East Coast. But I think the A's are just going to be, they're kind of going to use a lot of energy and excitement, kind of finally getting to that wild card game, and then they're going to get to a giant, I guess you could say, in the American League, and they're just gonna
it's not gonna happen.
It's like a buzzsaw. So they're just gonna get it's gonna get beat up.
Yeah.
But I got the next I got Twins at the Astros. Should be a really good series. I think the Twins are gonna play hard. I just think the Astros have too much talent. I think they still have too much talent. I think they beat the Twins 3-2. I think it goes the distance out there.
Okay.
I just think the Astros are gonna have too much talent. They're just gonna one or two of them games, it's just gonna come down to strictly to talent and the depth. Especially with some pitching, and I think they're gonna have it. They're gonna have the experience, and they're gonna beat them. But it should be a really good series for sure. Mm-hmm. On the NL, I have the Reds at the Dodgers. I have the Reds beat the Dodgers in 5 games.
Okay.
I hate the Dodgers, so
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So to even get them, I gave them the best record in baseball. What else do you want me to give them?
Yeah.
But I got the Reds beating them. I think that's just a young team. They're gonna get hot. They're gonna be excited. Cincinnati is such a great place to be for baseball. I think it's just gonna be a perfect storm out there. They're gonna beat them. Mm-hmm. I think they're gonna beat them in 5 games. And the Reds, they're gonna be hot. They're gonna be kind of like the Nationals, and they're gonna get hot. Then I had the Cardinals at Braves, which we see almost every year.
Yeah.
That's always a good series. I think last year, the Cardinals got the best of them last year, obviously. But the Braves are going to a little bit more experienced. They're going to be tough. They're going to bounce back. They're going to want some revenge on the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. Even though I really do like the Cardinals, I think the Braves are just going to be they're just too dominant. Mm-hmm. So I think the Braves are going to beat the Cardinals 3-1, and it should lead up to a really good championship series.
Yeah. All right, I've got the same series over in the AL, a little different over in the NL. So the first ALDS that I've got the Yankees over the A's, 3-1 series. I think that, like you said, the A's are just going to run to the Yankees or a buzzsaw. But if there's one team that can knock the Yankees down and get them out in the first round, it would be the A's because the Yankees have notorious troubles, A, in Oakland, and B, just against the A's as a whole. So I could just as easily see the A's win that series 3-1. But I think the Yankees are just too deep, too good, too experienced at this point, and I just think that they're going to move on to the championship series. Then the next ALDS I've got is the Astros and the Twins. I just think that the way the Twins looked against the Yankees last season, they did improve a little bit, but that offense is insane. But I think that the pitching is going to be similar to last season, where they just couldn't get the pitching right, and they were losing games. They were going for the long ball, and I think the Astros are too well rounded, too good. I actually got the Astros sweeping them out, just like what happened last year with the Yankees. And that's not a knock against the Twins. I just think that when, as Yankee fans, we've seen it when you got a offense reliant too much on the long ball and maybe not the best starting rotation. It's just what's going to happen, especially when you run into a team like the Astros. So then moving over to the NL, I've got the Dodgers and the Cardinals. I think that's going to be a really good series. It's always a really good series, and I think that the Dodgers will finally get a little bit of revenge on the Cardinals because they always seem to run into the Cardinals and they give them a hard time. So I've got the Dodgers over the Cardinals in 5 games, maybe even just barely. I think that's going to be a really good series if it comes down to that. And then the other NLDS I got going the distance as well of 5 games. I've got the Braves beating the Reds. Again, probably just barely. Both teams are just really good, but I think that the Braves are the better team. And I've got the Yankees and the Astros in the ALCS, and I've got the Dodgers and the Braves in the NLCS. So moving on to those championship series games, what do you got?
I got the Astros at the Yankees in the ALCS. We've seen for a couple of years now. Those are about the best 2 teams in the AL. That should be a bloodbath, especially with the revenge the Yankees want to get on the Astros. Hopefully, the Yankees should have a little bit more healthy roster. The Astros are their window's closing. Contracts are coming up. They had their scandal. They're going to get beat up. It's going to be a tough year for them altogether.
Yeah.
I could easily see them not getting far in the playoffs, but roster wise and value and overall talent on the team, I think the Astros they got to get to the ALCS just by looking at them on paper.
Yeah.
But I got the Yankees beating them 4-2. There's no way they don't beat them if they face them in the playoffs this year. Mm-hmm. I just can't see them losing to them.
Yeah. Again,
they're so mad and so angry. That's such a big chip on their shoulder for them that there's just no way they lose to them. That's the way I see. And not as a Yankee fan, because that has nothing really to do with it. I just think that that's how it's going to be.
Yeah.
They're just going to be so pissed off at them that they're gonna come for them, and the Yankees are ready. Mm-hmm. They're ready to go. Mm-hmm. As long as they have some health, and I think they will be more healthy this year. They're gonna beat them 4-2. And then the NL should be a great series. Mm-hmm. Great series. It's going to be 2 really young teams. One more up and coming, the Braves. Obviously kind of been there now for 2 years or so. The Reds just really coming up and coming. But I got the Braves beating them 4-1. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I think talent's going to, definitely outweigh some of the run the Reds are going to get on, or some of the luck the Reds are going to have. But the Braves, they're just too talented. Mm. They're just gonna beat down the Reds, and their veterans on the team are going to kind of help the younger guys for the Braves. Mm-hmm. Losing to the Cardinals last year was like a big loss, so they're going to come back with some vengeance. But that should be a really good series. I think every game's going to be very close, and it's going to be a very exciting series. It's going to be really could easily be the best series in all the playoffs.
Yeah, I can see that.
I really think it's because it's going to be so much talent and so many young guys. It's going to go back and forth. The games are going to come down to the wire. I think every single one, but it should be exciting. It should be exciting, and that's the way I got it. Though I got the Yankees over the Astros 4-2 in the AL, and I got the Braves over the Reds 4-1 in the NL.
Okay, well I agree with you with the Yankees and the Astros. I think they're finally going to get their revenge on that team, and I think that the Yankees, if they do see the Astros again, I completely agree with you. Where I think that they are determined. If they face that team again, they are going to be determined. And the Astros are not going to be pushovers, though. It's not like they're just going to bully their way into the World Series. I have the Yankees beating the Astros 7 games. I think that is going to be a really good series. It always is. Even this most recent year was really good. But I just think it's the Yankees' year finally, and I think that the Astros are going to be a little demoralized. I think they're a little worse this year without Garrett Cole, now switching over to New York. And then over in the NL, I've got the Braves over the Dodgers, which I would say is a little bit of an upset considering the Dodgers roster, but the Dodgers just never seem to put it all together with no matter what team they have, as good as they are. It just seems like they just
The curse.
yeah, they just can't get over that hump. I don't know what it is, and I just don't see that changing here, especially with a really good Braves team. So I've actually got the Braves beating the Dodgers in 6 games. I think both championship series could just as very well go 7 games, but I mean, I just think that the Dodgers just for some reason have too much trouble in the playoffs, and I see them faltering. And just to throw a little bit extra wrinkle into my predictions here for the ALCS, I've got Luke Voit winning the MVP. I just really like Luke Voit, and I think that when the light shines brightest on him, I just think that he could be a star in the playoffs. I don't think he got a fair deal with the playoffs last year because he got hurt, but I think that had he been there, he probably would have produced immensely. And then over in the NL for the Braves, I've got Freddie Freeman winning the MVP because Freddie Freeman's just a beast.
Yeah, I mean, if I want to throw my 2 cents in, for the MVPs, I would say Cole wins for the Yankees. I think it's an easy headline. I really think it's an easy headline.
That's true.
And a lot of times they see that and they're like, well, they just push for it more. So I think against the Astros and the kind of way they ended last year, I think he wins the ALCS MVP. And then the NL, you said Freeman. I mean, that's pretty safe bet there.
Yeah.
I would say probably Acuna.
Yeah.
I would say maybe Acuna.
Hard to argue against that.
Dark horse, so Nick Markakis.
I could see that too.
He's like the Howie Kendrick kind of player. A little bit more of a name, I guess, than Howie Kendrick, but he always kind of comes up with a big play and big hits when you need it. So I could definitely see him kind of being it. That's my dark horse NLCS MVP though.
Okay, I like it. So then, moving on to the Fall Classic, we've got for me.
Well, could be the Winter Classic. Who knows?
Who knows when it's gonna be? Yeah, it could be the January Classic. Who knows? But no. So I've got the Yankees and the Braves, which is, I mean, talk about a throwback series. That'd be amazing. I would really. Maybe it's just a little part of me that just wants that to happen in these predictions. But I've got the Yankees finally. You could consider them finally getting over a hump. They haven't won a World Series, and if they don't win it this year, going on 11 years. I've got them winning in 6 games against the Braves. I've got them winning 4-2, and I've got the MVP being Gleyber Torres, just because from what he's shown us in the playoffs, I think that he's just got that X factor in the playoffs, and I think that really the World Series light doesn't shine brighter. And I think that he could really be a household name like Juan Soto last year. So, I've got the Yankees winning the World Series and Gleyber Torres being the World Series MVP. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I got pretty much the same thing. I got the Braves at Yankees, obviously. I got the Yankees winning 4-2. I sent you over my predictions a couple weeks ago, and you just stole them. That's cool.
Yeah.
I had Gleyber Torres winning World Series MVP. It just kind of seems that way. It's kind of been. Everyone's kind of been talking about this guy. The writers really like him. Media really likes him. So it kind of seems like he's got a little step up there. But I think LeMahieu could be a big one too, just because he bats so good in the playoffs and he gets so many big hits. The home run last year against the Astros to keep the game going. So I mean, I think he easily could do it. I just think that media wise, Gleyber Torres is an easier name and a bigger name to push for the World Series.
Plus,
MVP.
a younger guy, you could kind of build him up to be a star, kind of like the other, the Juan Sotos and the Francisco Lindors of the league. You know what I mean?
So, but I got the Yankees win the World Series over the Braves. It should be a great series. 2 young teams that could be there for years. You could see this 3 times. You could see this 3 times in the next 10 years.
I'd love that. Yeah.
And it could just be like the 90s, where you've seen them a couple times there. But this series can easily go either way. I just think the Yankees, they just got that chip. They got that chip on their shoulder. They're gonna get past the Astros. There's gonna be so much momentum. Get past the Astros. They're just gonna roll to a team that's young. I mean, I know that the Braves have some veterans. Cole Hamels kind of been there, but overall, the team hasn't really done too much in the playoffs. While the Yankees, for a couple of years now, at least they got to the ALCS. They got to the borderline of the World Series. They have a touch more experience. They got guys like Gardner who've been there, so that helps them. But it should be a great series. I think the Yankees win it though. And it really closes out a great year. I think there's a lot of young teams. There's a lot of powerhouse teams, but there's a lot of teams that can, one move here or there, they can get hot and really make a run for it.
Yeah.
But I think that's how it really shakes out.
Yeah,
for the year.
I think that with the season being delayed, and I think that the Yankees, a lot of the big question marks with injuries, I think that that's going to be resolved by the time the season starts, and I think that is an immense advantage to them, because imagine the season starts and they don't have Stanton, they don't have Judge, no Severino, no Hicks, no this, no that. But when the season starts, now say you do have Judge and Stanton and say they're fully healthy, I mean, that's 100 home runs could be right there between those two guys. So,
Sure.
That's another thing, though, you got to question with the Yankees is the injuries, kind of like the Mets, like I mentioned earlier. But no, yeah, so we completely agree on the World Series. You got the Yankees, Braves, 6-game series, Torres being the MVP. I mean, can't get more exact than that. So that's who we got finishing off the series, and now it's time to give out some awards. So
yeah, before we even get to the awards, I always like to do a crazy All-Star game prediction too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Go ahead.
The All-Star game, I have the AL beating the NL, 9-7. Should be some scoring. Obviously the lineups, there's some crazy talent offensively. With a couple injuries with the pitching so far that we've seen, I think the offense is gonna really muscle its way. So I think the game's gonna be AL wins 9-7, and I think Anthony Rendon wins MVP for the All-Star game out in LA. I know it's Dodgers, but it's out in LA. He switches over from the NL to the AL. I think it's an easy storyline. Again, like I mentioned, and he's obviously a dominant player. But I see him winning the AL or the All-Star Game MVP, and excited to see those monster lineups that are going to be rolled out for those games for that game. But yeah, I always do an All-Star Game prediction, even though I don't really. It's really hard to predict it, but
yeah, I'll throw something out there. I think what'd you say, 9-7 is the.
Yeah. Yep.
I think a high-scoring game is probably inevitable. I mean, you've got the all-star pitchers, but you've got the all-star hitters, so you never really know. But I kind of see it being a high-scoring game. So let me just throw. I'd see the American League winning. I don't know, 6-4. I don't know. And who's the MVP? Mike Trout comes to mind, but what's he won? Has he won it twice now or something like that?
Yeah.
So let's see. I'll throw Judge out there. Why not?
Yeah.
Big name. Could see him. I could see him standing there as the AL MVP. Getting the car or the truck, whatever the hell you get.
Yeah.
All right, so that's just that wraps up the regular season stuff and postseason stuff. So, like I said, let's move on to the awards. So we'll go award by award, league by league. Frank will give his AL and NL award out, and then throw it back to me, and we'll go back and forth. So let's start with the big one, the MVP. Who do you got?
AL MVP, I have Judge. I think well liked in the media. Now that we kind of know that he might have got snubbed that year with Altuve, I think everyone's kind of have that little nudge, that little step for him. I think he has he has to have a healthy year though. That's really the whole Yankees season relies on him having a healthy year. But I can easily see him in the 40 home run range, 280 hitter, great defense, with a team that goes deep into the playoffs. I have him winning the World Series. I think he wins MVP. I really think he, it's written right there for him. It's right there for him, especially like I said, the way that one, the Altuve won that year. And now we kind of know that he might have, had some help to get that. I think it's, he's got a step up on everybody else. NL wise, I got Ronald Acuna. I mean, he had an unbelievable year last year. He was like 40-40. I mean, that's crazy. He's a young, exciting player, especially if this Braves team gets deep into the playoffs. You can't help to think that he's going to have to have a monster year to get there. Steals bases, hits home runs, hits for a high average. He's exciting. He's young. He plays great defense. I think it's just another one that he's so well liked, especially in the media, that he already has votes. The season didn't even started. He's already got someone's vote. I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's your two. Top dogs for the MVPs. I think if you want to do like a dark horse for each one, I think in the AL you probably got I think maybe someone like Matt Olson, who just has a chance to hit a bunch of home runs. He's just an exciting player. He's a great defender. Maybe someone like that. In NL, I mean, there's so many guys out there.
It's hard to know.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're really underdog guys, but Freddie Freeman. Ozuna, he's also on the Braves, so it's kind of hard to pick them. But I think Goldschmidt could be one. I really think Arenado. I think Arenado
yeah.
really could be is probably my biggest dark horse. He always leads the league in RBIs. He always has a great average. He's about the best defender in baseball. Just that Colorado effect that people kind of look negatively on. But I think Arenado has a great chance to win MVP too. He'd be my dark horse pick.
I agree. I actually a little similar here. I got the same AL MVP Judge. I think that if he is healthy at the start of the season and he's ready to go, gets over that rib injury he's got and whatever is always going on with him, I think that he's one of the best players in the league and he could easily win that MVP. And like you said, kind of you could say, you can make the argument got snubbed in 2017. You don't really know what happened with that Astros team. Only they know who are in the clubhouse. But hard to argue against Judge. In the NL, I've actually got Mookie Betts. I think that moving over there, he's gonna have a big season out in LA, and I actually think that LA has a really good chance of housing the MVP award. You've got him, you got Bellinger, you got Max Muncy. These guys that could really put up good years and get the MVP. If I had to throw out dark horse candidates for the AL, same team as you. Instead of Matt Olson, I got Matt Chapman, other corner guy. He's just ridiculous, and I could just as easily see Matt Olson winning it, hitting a bunch of home runs. And NL for my dark horse, Paul Goldschmidt, I think I actually think he's going a little under the radar. Had a little tough seasons, but I think he's unbelievable.
Yeah, tough seasons.
Yeah, for him.
Yeah,
for him. So that's who I got for MVPs. Moving on to another big award, the Cy Young. What do you got?
I had Chris Sale for the AL Cy Young. I really did. I'm a big Chris Sale fan. I don't care what team he plays for. Big Chris Sale fan. He's obviously a dominant pitcher. He decided to have Tommy John, so his year is done.
Sucks.
Next year he'll probably be, won't see him till maybe mid-year.
Maybe. You never know.
But so that kind of took out my real, Cy Young winner. But I think, I really think Tyler Glasnow could win AL Cy Young.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's got some nasty stuff. He always did. Last year he put it together. Had an injury there earlier in the year and shut him down for most of the year. He came back and he was still dominant. He's got that big curveball. He throws hard. I mean, he's gross.
Mm-hmm.
And he has momentum. He was like, oh man, I could pitch. Not that he ever lost that edge or that intensity, but he showed it last year.
Yeah.
So he's getting beat up a little bit. He kind of showed it, and he was like, all right, man, I'm good. I could pitch. I'm on a good team. So I think he's got a shot at AL Cy Young.
Mm-hmm.
You might see a guy like Cole. Obviously, he's going to be like a front runner for it. I think Jose Barrios could be an underdog guy for it. For the NL, I got Jack Flaherty. I think he should have won last year. His second half was dominant.
Unbelievable.
I mean, Jake Arrieta won a Cy Young because of his second half stats, and Flaherty had unbelievable second half stats. I think he should have easily won it last year, really. And I think this year he will win it. I think this year he'll put the whole year together with a great team, and they're gonna, he's gonna have some just disgusting numbers. And he's gonna just prove to everybody that I could have easily won last year, and I'm winning it this year.
Yeah.
Underdog candidates. I mean, you got maybe Max Fried or Fried for the Braves.
I can see it.
A big lefty. You got guys like Luis Castillo for the Reds. So there's a couple underdog guys for you, but overall, I got Flaherty winning NL Cy Young.
Yeah, I've got no real what you would call dark horses in my Cy Young award here. So I've got Garrett Cole winning it. I think that he's going to be dominant in New York. I think he's going to get a lot of wins with that team. I think that he's going to have a lot of strikeouts, a lot of innings, and barring he stays healthy. And I just Glasnow's I've got as my dark horse. I don't know if you consider him a dark horse, but with Sale being out, I don't really see another real dominant guy like Garrett Cole or Glasnow, or like you said, Jose Barrios. That's a nice name to throw out there. I like that. Then in the NL, I've got Jacob deGrom winning it again. I think that he's just unbelievable. But I think that I wrote dark horse kind of as Jack Flaherty. I think Jack Flaherty, those two guys will be like 1-2 Cy Young again. I think that they're both just got really good stuff, and I just think that deGrom's going to put up another good year, and I don't know. I think that, like I said, I think that they could be your 1-2. I could see Flaherty winning it and deGrom coming in second. I mean, it's just...
I really don't think deGrom should have won either of them.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. You got people out there, he loses 1-0. He didn't lose that many 1-0. Don't get me wrong, they don't score a bunch of runs for him. He shouldn't have won both Cy Youngs. At some point, you got to win some games. You can't have 9 wins. You got to win some games. King Felix, he won 1 year. What do you have, 12 wins?
I think 11 or 12, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't win a bunch of games.
No.
I grant you, he was in the I think he had 13. But yeah, he was in that 12, 13 area. Low ERA, but still, DeGrom won 2 years ago. What do you have, 9? I think it was. I mean, you got to win games. That's what it comes down to. I know it's not all about wins, and nor should it be. Strikeouts, ERA, stuff like that. But it's hard to sit there and tell me when he's 500 with 9 wins that he should win Cy Young, and a team that didn't make the playoffs, a team that wasn't close to the playoffs, but he was essentially your most valuable pitcher. I don't know. I don't see it. He's a great pitcher. Don't get me wrong, but to win 2 Cy Youngs and not make the playoffs, or really even be close, I don't. It doesn't make sense to me. So, yeah, I can't see him winning. I can't see him winning 3. I think you might even see. I think Syndergaard might even have a better chance this year.
I can see it. I mean,
I think he puts at some point he has to put it together.
Yeah, and he's got wicked stuff. So
yeah, I don't see DeGrom. I just don't see him winning it. Obviously, 3 times in a row. It's really unbelievable. Yeah, it's unbelievably hard to do. But at some point, the writers are gonna be like, all right, win some games. You have to win some games. We gave you a Cy Young, with no wins. We gave you another one with really no wins. You got to win some games. So it's going to be an uphill battle for him to win it. And with some of these other guys like Flaherty out there, I don't see him winning it.
Well, it's like I said, Flaherty's like I said, I wouldn't even call him a dark horse. He's my other guy, so I could just as easily see him winning it. But like I said, keeping my predictions consistent, I got the Mets winning a bunch of games this year. So maybe he. That's why I kind of got him up there. He will get the wins this season, I think. Finally, maybe. That's at least where I've got him. So maybe not as prestigious of an award we'll move on to next, but the Comeback Player of the Year award. What do you got for the comeback player?
I think Comeback Player of the Year is kind of a award no one talks about, but it's kind of an exciting award. You kind of you're glad for a lot of these guys to have a good year and bounce back. Some guys are older too, so it's nice to have them kind of bounce back and have a great year again. I think a great guy for is Justin Upton with a retooled Angels lineup coming into the year healthy. Last year he was banged up, missed half the year. He came back, still wasn't really quite right. But a new team essentially, a new lineup with Rendon. You got Trout out there. You still got Pujols. You got Ohtani. It's excitement. I think he's going to have he's a really great player. He's a really great player. I think he's going to have a really big year this year, and I think he's got a real shot at, AL Comeback Player of the Year. I think another guy you could see maybe Stanton. Here's one for you.
All right.
Here's a shot in the dark.
Let's hear it.
Here's a crazy one. You ready?
All right. What do you got?
Chris Davis with a C.
Oh, had a nice spring.
As bad, yeah, had a really good spring. As bad as he was for this couple of years, people really felt bad for him. If he had just a pretty decent year, maybe gets traded, maybe he gets a little love. I don't know. I could see it.
I could see it,
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I could see it.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe even Chris Davis with a K, too.
Yeah, you could.
Comes back, it bats his 247, hits 40-something home runs, and the A's go deep into the playoffs.
Yeah.
But Chris Davis with a C, I could see that for some reason.
I like that.
So that's a real underdog for you. So
I like that a lot. Yeah.
That's a crazy one. In the NL, I got Matt Carpenter. I think he's really just too good of a player. Last year, he just never quite got hot. He had some injuries. He never could get hot. The team was kind of there. The team was playing well. It kind of needed him. So this year, he comes back and plays like he should. This team's going to go deep. This team's going to win a bunch of games like I have him.
Oh,
so I think he's going to be a big part of it. He easily could win NL Comeback Player of the Year. Another guy you could look for, maybe Lorenzo Cain. He dealt with an injury all last year. Really didn't play that great. Maybe for the Mets' sake, maybe Cespedes. If he came back and put up close to the years that he can put up, obviously he can make, really make that Mets team take off.
Oh yeah.
But for the most part, I think Matt Carpenter's probably your guy. Maybe Lorenzo Cain, maybe even like Daniel Murphy.
I can see
the
it.
Rockies come back and really have a big year with that offensive team and that offensive stadium. So
yeah, all good names right there. I like all of that. It's almost making me want to change some of my predictions. But my Comeback Player of the Year is Carlos Correa, and I think a big wrinkle for that is that with everything going on with the Astros season, and he was kind of the guy last year that was injured and kind of never really got the year going, and I think that maybe the writers will give him some love, try to change the narrative a little bit with the Astros, maybe try to get them a little bit not as picked on. Not saying that they deserve that. I think that they deserve all the the bullying,
Sure.
you could say, that they've gotten. I think that they deserve it. But I could, Correa is a really good player regardless. If you take all the off the field and, well, technically on the field stuff, take all that out of consideration, he is still a good player, and I think that I could see him win comeback player of the year. But my dark horse is the same as actually your winner, Justin Upton. I really like Justin Upton, and I wouldn't even consider him like a comeback guy. He's always been on my radar. You know what I mean? But I think that for the average viewer, maybe even the average writer, I think that he's kind of off the radar. So I see him being an AL guy. And like you said, I like the Chris Davis thing. I like that a lot. I might even change it.
Sure.
Moving over to the NL, I think that the comeback player of the year over there will be Edwin Diaz. Like I said, I think that the guy just had such an awful year last year that I can't see it being worse. So and he's just got, I mean, he could be worse. Could be, Wade Davis, 80 RA, bad, but I think that
maybe he's got comeback player out there.
Hey, listen, we got a lot of names going out now. Yeah. No, I think Edwin Diaz got really good stuff. I think he'll put it together. I'm not saying he'll have a 1 ERA or anything, but I think that even if he has a 3.5 ERA and he saves a bunch of games for the Mets, which I really see happening, I think he'll win comeback player of the year easily. And my dark horse is Matt Carpenter. I mean, both of us really love Matt Carpenter, and it's no surprise that we both got him on here. And great player, and if he puts together, he's a 300 hitter easily. I think he's fantastic. All right, moving to back to a little bit more of the prestigious awards. Why don't we move to Manager of the Year?
Yeah, I mean, Coach of the Year's it's a weird award because you can't really predict it.
Yeah.
Even if you have the most wins, it don't go by most wins. It kind of goes by feel.
Mm.
But I think Dusty Baker's the guy with that Astros team, what they dealt with, and not coaching for a couple years now. If he could get them winning as many games as I have him, 102, and get into the ALCS, how could you not pick him for all he's dealt with? He's got to be. So I think he's got a and he's a great manager, a great person, great guy. I would love to see him win a World Series, just not with the Astros, for all they did. But I would love to see him win a World Series. But I think easily see him win an AL Coach of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
In NL, I see David Bell with the Reds.
Mm-hmm.
Reds really coming back to life here. Last year they played decent. They're going to get a lot of young talent. They're going to have a really good year. I think they're going to knock off the Dodgers, get to the NLCS. I think the Manager of the Year, I mean, he's underdog team. He's going to get them deep into the playoffs. I think he's going to sneak into consideration and win.
Yeah.
I think you're not going to really see him in a lot of lists. But I think he's going to win it. I think that Reds team is going to be so good that people are going to be like, this team's pretty good. Got to give the manager some credit. So I got David Bell.
Yeah, I didn't even consider him, but that's a good pick right there. So my Manager of the Year for the AL is Dusty Baker, like you. I mean, that's talk about a weight on your shoulders. I mean, he's gonna go in there, and I think he's gonna do his thing, and I think he's gonna do really good, and he's gonna weather that storm for them. He's gonna really help out, and he's just a great manager, really experienced guy, and he's the other guy that I've got, my dark horse, Joe Madden. He's the only other guy I could see really slotting in there and winning that. Because Aaron Boone ain't. He's probably not going to be in the running anymore with how good that Yankee team is. So I don't, maybe the Rays. I mean, maybe
I could see maybe even Renteria with the White Sox.
Yeah, I can see that too. I like
that. But I think Dusty's got the upper hand. Created the high five. So
yeah.
I mean, why not give him a Coach of the Year?
Give him an award for that.
Yeah, sure.
All right, moving over to the NL for the Manager of the Year, I've got Joe Girardi for the Phillies. I think that he's going to win them some extra games for sure. I think that he's a really good manager, and I think he maybe even by my standards, I think he's a little underappreciated with the Yankees. I think he's a good manager, good guy. And I think he'll do well in Philly. I wish him well. And then my dark horse guy, consistent with how I've been predicting with the Mets, I've got Luis Rojas. That's another guy kind of stepping into a little bit of weight on his shoulders with the big New York team, and kind of almost just thrown in to the storm after the whole Beltran thing. And I think that he's got a good roster with him, and if he can just maybe even just do the bare minimum, I think that team's going to be really good. So I think that he's going to get some consideration towards the end. Then last of what you could call the Big Four awards given out is the Rookie of the Year award. So what do you got for rookie?
That's always another interesting award because they kind of come out of nowhere sometimes. It could be some controversies. We've seen with Ohtani's year. So, I mean, there's definitely... it's a weird award,
mm-hmm.
but a guy I really like, I liked for a couple of years now, AJ Puck for the A's,
mm-hmm.
and Jesus Luzardo's out there. He's going to get a lot of, probably the favorite the betting favorite for it.
Probably.
I think AJ Puck though is going to be the guy.
Mhm.
Just because I think Luzardo's got so much hype around him that if he doesn't have like that really 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 good year, they're going to be like, they're going to see this guy. They're not going to really talk about him much because of Luzardo and the rest of the A's players. He's going to sneak in and have such a really good year. He's going to, he's going to be on the, up top. I think he's going to win. He's going to be a dominant lefty pitcher, big guy. He's really good. He's going to be really good for them years to come too. And then NL, I have Dylan Carlson, the Cardinals. Obviously, you can see a lot of my awards are the Cardinals here, but that's why I have them with 97 wins. It's going to take this kind of stuff. And they're all reasonable. Dylan Carlson's one of the best prospects in baseball. He's a dominant outfield talent. He's going to get called up at some point or start the year up at some point. He might start the year with the Cardinals. I don't know about that, service time, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he's going to come up early on, I think. And he has, he can hit home runs. He can steal bases. He's going to play, good outfield. The outfield's kind of open out there. There's no one really, really locked in out there. And he's just superstar talent. He's going to come in. Cardinals always have young talent. They always come in, they play really well. He's going to come up, step right up, be right up there in the middle of the order with Goldschmidt, Matt Carpenter, Molina, guys like that, surrounding him. He's going to have a really good year. He's going to be in the 20s, maybe even 30s of home runs, matter how many games they play. But he's definitely, a great player out there. He definitely, I think he's a favorite. I think in my book, my eyes, he's a favorite.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's some, I don't really know. I mean, maybe Brendan Rodgers, if he's still considered a rookie for the Rockies. I'm not sure he's on that. He was on that borderline.
No, he was actually on the betting odds for Rookie of the Year. So
I could see. I mean, he's a dominant player.
Yeah.
And in the AL, I mean, Luzardo, like I mentioned, he obviously can be, high up on the list for Rookie of the Year. But I got AJ Puck in the AL and Dylan Carlson in the NL.
I like that. Can't really go wrong with those guys, but. For my Rookie of the Year in the AL, I've got Luis Robert. I think he's going to come up and just be really good. And my dark horse guys, like what you got, AJ Puck, I think he's going to be really good. And like you said, Luzardo, he's probably the favorite, like you said, but you could consider him another guy to consider here for the AL Rookie of the Year. Over in the NL, I've actually got Mitch Keller winning Rookie of the Year. I like Dylan Carlson. I've actually forgot to even consider him for some reason. But my dark horse guy, I guess you could throw in Dylan Carlson and Shogo Akiyama, a little bit maybe of a cop-out answer. I think that he could come up and make waves. I think Mitch Keller could come up and make waves. It's hard. I think Rookie of the Year, if you don't have real can't-miss guys coming up, it's kind of a crapshoot, Yeah. Sure. You can even throw in, Gavin Lux for the Dodgers, and you can throw him in there. Yeah. I mean, why not,
Sure.
But there's a lot of young guys every year to look out for. There's almost new names every year that, you got to learn and watch out for. So that's it for the awards. Now let's give out our statistical leaders. So why don't you start out with the big one, average?
Yeah, so I got in the AL average-wise, I got DJ LeMahieu. I think he's just a constant hitter. He doesn't strike out a bunch. Consistent, so he just smacks the ball to right field when he needs to. He does have some power, but he's just a great hitter, overall hitter. So I think he's going to lead the league in average. I don't have a stat here for exactly what I think he's going to bat, but I bet you he's 330.
Yeah.
332.
That was the number in my head, so.
Yeah, maybe 328, something like that. He did win the NL with the 348 one year, so he go as high as that. But I think in the high 320s to low 330s, you'll see him. Some other guys you could see, Altuve, obviously. You could, guys like that. You could see kind of being in the run for Lindor, maybe. Jose Ramirez could just have a good start to a year. A guy like that.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of guys out there that you kind of look at. Trout. So he's,
Oh, yeah.
So he's got a chance at it. So, there's a couple guys there that I would take a, look at for the AL average. NL average, I got Yelich. He's top 5 players in the league. Arguably top 3. He's going to be in the 330s, I think, as well. Hitting home runs, stealing bases. He's just a dominant player. As long as he can come back and kind of shake a little bit of that back injury and then that freak injury with his leg, as long as he come back and bounce back well with that. Some other guys, maybe Arenado.
Yeah.
Daniel Murphy,
yeah.
I think is a great one to look at. You can see maybe some resurgence, maybe average-wise from Goldschmidt. Don't be surprised to see him in the 320s, Making a push for Freeman's a great one. Acuna, I think he's obviously, So there's a bunch of guys out there. as well as the AL that you could see, win the average thing. But me personally, I got LeMahieu, AL, NL, Yelich.
Yeah, I've actually got the same thing for the average guys. I think that LeMahieu's going to hit. You could even say him hitting 340. I mean, he's just a pure hitter. I just don't see any sign of slowing down for him. Like people are saying, "Oh, can he do it again? Can he do it again?" It's like I've seen this guy do it how many years now? I mean, he's just quietly. Now that he's come over to the Yankees, it's not so quiet anymore. But he just quietly does his job, and he's all business. So he's going to be a high average guy for sure. I mean, he'll 1, 2, 3, top 3 average guys for sure. Yelich over in the NL, he's he's really broken out to be a superstar, and he's just going to have another good year, high average. I actually dark horse for the AL a little bit. I wanted to throw something out in left field. Rafael Devers, just a great hitter, and feels like he's been in the league forever, but he's young as hell. I mean, he came up when he was 19, I think. So I could see him winning the batting title, him having a monster year. And that Red Sox lineup is still really good, so he'll have a lot of protection. And then dark horse I got in the NL, I got Freddie Freeman. He's just a beast of a hitter, and I don't even know if that's considered a dark horse pick. But
I wouldn't say that, but yeah.
But he just seems to fly under the radar sometimes. I mean, he's probably is the best first baseman in the league, defensively and offensively. He's just a stud, and for my money, I think he'll be in the top 3 as well for the average. Next big stat is the home runs. There's been a lot of home runs lately, especially with these so-called juiced balls that they've got. So who do you got for the home run total?
Yeah, home runs. Now, I got a guy that's probably, not at the top of everyone's list here, leading home runs. I really hope we play 162 games because this guy's numbers with 162 games could be ridiculous. But I got Matt Olson in the AL, leading the league in home runs. I think if we play 162, he's got a shot at 50-something home runs. Like he's that much. He's dominant against lefties, against righties. He doesn't go into big slumps really. I mean, he's a really good hitter. He came up a couple years ago. He came up with limited amount of bats. He had 20 home runs, 20-something home runs. Last year, he broke his hamate bone. That saps your power as a power hitter. He missed almost a month with that. Came back. He still had 30. Was in the 30 home runs. Still at the top, towards the top of home runs. He mashes the ball.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and he's a good hitter. He's a 260, 270 hitter.
Yeah, he's a great player.
An unbelievable defender. So, he's definitely one of the guys I really like in the league, one of my favorite players, and I could definitely see him in the 50s of home runs if we play 162, and I think he's easily in the 40s with just a healthy year. Just a normal, healthy, full season, he's in the 40s for sure.
Yeah, hard to disagree.
Some other guys you could look at, obviously Judge, Stanton. You could look at some of the guys like that. Trout is an easy one.
Oh, yeah.
I think Justin Upton, even possibly. You never know. Comeback player of the year. He's got some power. He might sneak his way in there. But for the most part, I think Matt Olson's your guy out there. And like I said, you got Stanton and Judge, guys like that who are going to have a shot at it. And then in NL, I have Ronald Acuna. These are the ways you get MVP. You got to lead some stats. So I think he's going to be in the running for obviously average. Like I said, home runs, I think he's going to be in the 40s. He's got a shot at 40-40. Hell, he's got a shot at 50-50.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's going to hit a bunch of home runs. I think he's going to be at the top. Some other guys to look at. Arenado, of course. He's going to be on like almost all these. I'm going to say, notice him.
Yeah.
Goldschmidt. There's a lot of guys. There's similar lists. You got to keep naming the similar guys. That's what they do. They do everything.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say they're not going to be there. Maybe Juan Soto. I don't see him as a super home run guy, but you never know. He could be in the 30s, and that might do it. Maybe Harper. Second year with Philly. So I mean, I would say maybe if you really want to throw out an underdog out there, maybe Hoskins.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's probably like 100%. An actual dark horse compared to some of these names that we've been shooting out there.
Dark horse used lightly.
Yeah, but as a real dark horse, maybe Hoskins. Maybe with 30-something home runs, 40 home runs. But definitely a lot of home runs in this day and age, and a lot of guys who are going to hit them. Yeah. Yelich. So that, you could keep naming guys.
Yeah.
And no one you're going to name, I'm going to be like, no, he's not doing it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of guys. There's, 20 guys I could name, and they're like, oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You can make a case for them.
You could probably make the case for just about the whole Twins lineup at this point.
Yeah, but AL-wise, Matt Olson, NL-wise, I got Acuna.
All right, I got just a little different. I got one different one here. I've got, it's not so different. It's not like it's an underdog or anything, but for my home run guy, I got Stanton. He comes back and he's healthy, which is going to benefit him now with the season being delayed. He'll be ready for opening day. I mean, he's just a masher. He gets hot. I mean, he's going to hit 50 home runs easy. My dark horse, though, actually, a name surprisingly you didn't mention that I actually really like this guy. This is actually, I would consider a dark horse. Jordan Alvarez. He came up and he just had some brute strength, brute power.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he really hit the hell out of the ball. And I could see him maybe sneaking in there and getting a lot of home runs and maybe grabbing the title if maybe some bigger power guys get hurt or something like that. And then over in the NL, I got the same. I got Acuna, just a great player, a lot of speed, a lot of power. He's just overall amazing. And dark horse, I don't know if you mentioned him. Eugenio Suarez, I think you did. Another guy, I think I could see him being a dark horse guy. He hit a lot of home runs last year, and with that potent Reds lineup, going to have a lot of protection around him. And, I think that he could hit, 40, 45, something like that. Maybe even, 50, why not?
Yeah.
Another big hitting stat we'll move on to next is the RBI stat, which I think is a little bit of an underrated stat. I think that there's not a lot of big 100, 110, 120 RBI guys. It's hard to do that. You got to be on a really good potent lineup team. But who do you got for the RBI leaders?
RBI leader for the AL, I got Anthony Rendon. He's an RBI machine, with Trout probably topping the lineup, batting first or second. Rendon's going to be batting after him. So, I mean, he's got to have so many chances at RBIs. I mean, either Trout's on himself, getting walked, whatever it's going to be. Rendon's going to be there smacking home runs and getting a lot of RBIs. You can see guys like, Matt Olson with that many home runs. Usually your RBIs are up. Maybe Judge. Jose Ramirez is always a big RBI guy. Lindor. You can look at some guys like that. Maybe Donaldson with the Twins. So there's, I would say those are some names to look at for, RBI-wise. But I would pick Rendon in the AL. In the NL, I think it's Arenado. Just about every year. He's like 120 RBIs. Really solid player, really superstar player. But he'll be at the top of the RBI list. Acuna, another name you're gonna look at. Harper drives in a lot of runs. Maybe Bellinger. I just think that lineup's there's gonna be so many guys driving in runs. It's gonna be hard for like one or two guys to really have a bunch. But maybe Bellinger. So there's some guys there. I mean, AL, like I said, I think Rendon. I think another guy I almost missed here, Jose Abreu. Like he led the league in RBIs last year. Was 120 for a team that wasn't great. Now the team's better. I mean, the guy's gonna have 100. He'll probably have 120 RBIs again. So he's definitely an underdog, dark horse guy. But I think your safest bet. I'm picking Rendon, AL, NL. I'm picking Arenado.
All right. Well, that's actually I got that too, and I think those are two easy picks. I think they're almost guarantees to be top five at the worst, top five in the RBI list. I mean, Arenado's he's a hitting machine. Rendon's getting a lot of opportunities, like you said. Dark horse guy, I like the Jose Abreu pick. I think that he's a legitimate, maybe not even dark horse, but he gets a lot of RBIs all the time, and he's gonna do good. I like Edwin Encarnacion. Always seems to find RBIs, even at his older age. I don't know why. I like Encarnacion up at the top of that list. He always seems to find his way up there, no matter what. And in the NL, for, again, not really even a dark horse, but Paul Goldschmidt. Cardinals team's going to have a really good lineup, and he'll have his opportunities to drive in runs. So, I agree with you. Rendon and Arenado are pretty obvious picks for RBIs. Here's a stat that I think these are probably really obvious choices, but for stolen bases, it's a little bit of a underutilized ability in this day and age is the ability to steal bases. So who do you got for stolen bases? I think we pretty much agree on this one, but go ahead.
In the AL, I got Alberto Mondesi. I mean, he steals a bunch of bases. He would have led the league. I think he almost led the AL last year, had some injuries, missed some time, but I think he's definitely a front runner for it. Malik Smith, there's a handful of guys that kind of steal a bunch of bases. Maybe Trout, but he doesn't really steal bases anymore.
No, not as much as he did.
But maybe if he jumps back doing that, you never know.
Yeah.
Definitely can. I'm wrong. But Alberto Mondesi, I think, is your safest bet out there. In the NL, I think Trey Turner, another one, he's a real safe bet. Steals a lot of bases every year. Jonathan Villar is out there. He could definitely steal. Acuna is going to be at the top. But a real underdog guy out there for stolen bases, Garrett Hampson for the Rockies. He's got unbelievable speed.
Yeah.
And I thought he was going to have a real good year last year for the Rockies. I picked him up. I had him in fantasy. Late draft pick, struggled. Then he kind of came up second half of the year and played better. His average kind of shot back up to like 240s, which isn't great, but it kind of, compared to his start, he's definitely got a shot of, having a starting job over there. And I at the very least, being a utility guy, getting a lot of at bats. He can have a bunch of stolen bases. He's super speed.
Yeah.
But I think Trey Turner is probably going to win it in the NL. And AL, it's going to be Alberto Mondesi.
Yeah, I've got the exact same thing. Those are kind of the two easiest picks, probably the most obvious picks. I don't even think that there's like a 1, 2, 3 guys. I think it's like maybe 1 and 2, and that's it. It falls off with the stolen bases. Like I said, it's just underutilized ability, and guys like Trout, those bigger hitter guys, like they focus more on the hitting, less on the stolen bases as they get more experienced in the league, and obviously as they get older, your legs start to go, so you want to preserve your legs, and I get it, but. I've got Alberto Mondesi and Trey Turner. Dark horse guys, like you said, Malik Smith is pretty obvious. And for the NL, I've got Christian Yelich. He's just an all-around player, so it's hard to. I wouldn't even call him a dark horse, but Mondesi, Turner, Yelich, Malik Smith, Luis Robert. Throw these names around, they're all gonna have good amount of stolen bases.
Sure.
So, final batting statistic that we've got here is runs. So what do you got? Who you got leading the league in runs?
I think runs is going to be Trout.
That's
just going to be it. With that lineup, as good as he is, and the lineup just got better. He's on base all the time. I think he's gonna lead the league in runs. I think he's just a dominant player. He's the best player in the world.
Oh yeah,
and one of the best that we've seen in a long time. But I got Trout, leading the league in runs. Some other guys you might want to look at, maybe Lindor, maybe Jose Ramirez, because, he actually just steal some bases as well. Maybe Marcus Semien,
okay.
he's always on base.
I like that.
Elvis Andrus, underdog guy who steals some bases too. So those guys are going to be in the mix for, I think Mike Trout's the guy, though, in the AL. NL, I got Acuna, of course.
Yeah.
Win MVP, you're going to have to do a lot of stuff. Towards the top of the lineup, hitting home runs, stealing bases. With that deep lineup, he's going to have to score a bunch of times. So he's going to be in the running for it. Other guys like Yelich, Arenado, maybe Goldschmidt may be out there. Guys like that. It's going to be, you got to be on a lot to score.
Yeah.
And you got to have some help in the lineup. So maybe someone with the Dodgers, Bellinger, something like that. Mookie Betts maybe. Mookie Betts is probably a high choice there. But overall, I got Mike Trout and Ronald Acuna, two of the best players in all of baseball.
Yeah, you got to have your table setters as your leading runs guys. So I've got LeMahieu as a leading runs guy in the AL. I think that he's just, with a 330 average, he's going to be on. He's got guys behind him in the lineup. They're going to drive him in. I think that's, like you said, it's like Trout. It's just kind of almost obvious that those two guys are going to be up there. Dark horse, I got Altuve. He's just always, he's another guy that just finds his way on base, and with that lineup, he'll be driven in a lot. So I think Altuve, maybe even, again, not a dark horse, but I think that he'll be up there. In the NL, I got Acuna. Acuna's, again, another pretty obvious guy with another great lineup that he'll find his way on base. He'll find his way into scoring position easily. Another guy that you mentioned before, kind of not really dark horse, but Mookie Betts. I've got another guy to watch up at the top of the lineup. Again, it's consistent with the runs. You got to have a good lineup. You got to have a guy at the top that's a table setter, and have a lineup behind him that can drive him in. And Mookie Betts, all these four guys that I mentioned, LeMahieu, Altuve, Acuna, and Betts, they've all got good lineups behind them, and they'll find their way on base. They'll find their way into scoring position, and they'll find their way into home plate. So that wraps up our hitting statistic awards out, and let's wrap it up with the pitching statistics. We'll give awards out. We'll start with wins.
So wins, I think Garrett Cole, as a dominant pitcher with a great team. I think he's gonna prove himself with that big contract. He's just gonna get a lot of run support, and he's gonna win a lot of games. That's how it's gonna be. Some other guys look at me: Blake Snell, Jose Barrios. If Verlander can be healthy, we don't know when we're starting baseball. He obviously had surgery. He's going to miss some time. Maybe Greinke, guys like that. I think underdog guy, maybe Lance McCullers. I always liked Lance McCullers. Coming back from Tommy John this year, so maybe he could pitch, get some wins. NL-wise, I got Walker Buehler, one of the best young pitchers in baseball. He's got an unbelievable team, so he's going to win some games. Even if he gives up 4 or 5 runs, he's got a easy shot at winning some games. I think Flaherty's going to be there. You're going to see maybe Aaron Nola for the Phillies.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of guys out there. And really anybody from the Dodgers got a shot with that lineup.
Yeah.
You know, I think Sonny Gray, real underdog. Luis Castillo, another underdog there for the Reds. But overall, I got Walker Buehler, and for the NL and AL, I got Garrett Cole.
Yeah, I completely agree. I got the same too. It's hard to argue against the two best teams in the league, Yankees and Dodgers. Hard to argue that those pitchers are going to get wins, and as dominant as they are, I could even see Kershaw being at the top of the wins list just because of that team. I mean, he's still good enough to win, get the wins award. My dark horse actually for wins is Tanaka, just because I think that the Yankees are just that good that he's just a constant in that rotation, and he'll always be there. So he could, they score a lot of runs for him, so I could see him win a lot of games too. And like you said, my dark horse in the NL, Sonny Gray. Reds are going to win a good amount of games, and between him and Luis Castillo, they're both going to win. They're both going to win their games. So that's what I got for wins. I'm going to sound like a broken record in the American League with Garrett Cole, but why don't we move on to strikeouts?
Yeah, strikeouts. It's a shame because I had Sale winning Cy Young, so I had Sale winning some categories there. So I had him originally strikeouts. I mean, Sale's out of the AL now, out of the league for the year. I think Garrett Cole's probably he's gonna be at the top of all these lists. Strikes out a bunch of guys. Glass now is gonna have a really good shot at it. But I think those are probably my two choices there for the AL. And then in the NL, I'm going to say probably DeGrom. It's probably a safe bet there. Maybe Flaherty, Buehler. It's hard, though, because strikeouts, it's kind of a weird stat, You don't have to be a dominant pitcher to have a bunch of strikeouts. Most of the time, it's the way it is, but, you don't have to be. But, yeah, I think DeGrom, maybe Syndergaard. I think Aaron Nola's got a shot. But I'm just going to pick, Garrett Cole and DeGrom. I think they're going to lead the leagues in strikeouts.
Yeah, I've got the same thing. I think that actually Walker Buehler, going back to him getting the wins, I think he could be up there too with strikeouts. Garrett Cole, I think, is now with Verlander being hurt, and I had originally had Sale as a strikeout leader, but with him getting hurt, unfortunately, I think that leaves Garrett Cole kind of as the lone guy. My dark horse, Tyler Glass now. He's going to strike out a lot of guys too, but I don't know if he'll strike out to the degree that Garrett Cole will. Not that, he's not going to, Garrett Cole's going to have a lot. I don't know if he'll have 300. That's quite the total, but he'll have quite a bit. Over in the NL again, I got DeGrom too. Flaherty right behind him. I think that they're, like I said before, they're going to duke it out for the Cy Young, and they're going to be 1-2 with the stats here, I think. But again, Walker Buehler could just easily be up there. Sonny Gray, Luis Castillo, these guys we mentioned before. And like you said, Syndergaard too, Mets teammate to DeGrom. I could see it, but DeGrom's just a dominant pitcher. I gotta put him at the top of the strikeouts. Moving on next to away from the starting pitching, let's move on to the relievers here. We got who's going to lead the league in saves.
Yeah, so there's a handful of guys you can see for saves wise.
Yeah.
I think in the AL, Roberto Ozuna, really young closer. Very good pitcher for a team that's going to win, I think, a bunch of games. I think he's definitely a front runner for it. Maybe some other names to look at. Liam Hendricks, really like him with the A's. Chapman obviously is going to be on there. I think that Ozuna, Hendricks, and Chapman, I think those are the three names.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be closers the whole year. They're going to be really good closers. They're dominant. And they're going to be, I think, battling out for saves throughout the whole year. In the NL, I think I got Kirby Yates. Teams got better. They had a bunch of saves last year, and the team didn't win a bunch of games. This year, they're going to be over 500, so more chances at wins. So he's got more chances at saves. He's a really dominant pitcher. He's really, really good. Kind of came out of nowhere a couple years ago. Really turned it on, turned himself around. Some other names to look at. Maybe Edwin Diaz is definitely an underdog guy. Really, whoever they name out there for the Braves.
Yeah.
Mark Melancon maybe, or Shane Green.
Yeah.
I think Green is better. I think Green's got a better shot. He should be the closer.
Got youth on his side.
Yeah. Maybe Raciel Iglesias for the Reds. He always pitches like 2 innings, and they kind of do some weird stuff with him. He really gets hot and cold, but if he can kind of have a consistent year, he's got a shot at a bunch of saves with a really good team.
Yeah.
But overall, I got Roberto Ozuna for the AL, and Kirby Yates for the NL.
Yeah, I mean, there's a handful of guys for the closers. You got to obviously get the opportunities. You're not. There could be guys stranded like, you could throw Brad Hand out there, but are the Indians going to win as many games to get him that save total? Probably
Or
not.
is he going to be in the AL?
Or yeah, where is he going to be by the end of the year?
Yeah.
That's kind of why I. So for the AL, I've got Liam Hendricks. I got him leading because I just think that the A's are probably going to have the closer games. I think that he's probably going to have to stroll out there more than, say, a guy like Aroldis Chapman. That's why I've got Chapman as more of a dark horse guy, just because I think that the Yankees are going to blow teams out. I think that especially with that division, with the they feast on the Orioles, they're just going to blow that team out. There's some games there that he's just not even going to get any playing time. Over in the NL, I've got Edwin Diaz, like I've said throughout this podcast. I think that Edwin Diaz is going to have a comeback year. I think he's going to do really good. Another team, the Mets, they're going to win some close games, and they're going to really need that bullpen. And that was the difference maker last year for them, not being a playoff team, was that bullpen just kept falling apart. And if that bullpen holds up this year, he's going to have a lot of saves. And, dark horse guy, I've got, like I was going to say with Brad Hand, similar to Brad Hand, Josh Hader is a guy who knows if he's even there at the end of the year. I know there was already trade talks begin to start the season. I will call him a dark horse because who knows, he could just end up being a setup guy somewhere, a really, really good setup guy somewhere. And finally, our last stat that we're going to go over for pitching is ERA, big stat.
Yeah. ERA has kind of been, judged a little different recently. Last couple of years. People talk about weighted ERA and stuff like that now.
Yeah.
But I had Sale. It was going to be a big part of his Cy Young case, was going to be his strikeouts and his ERA. With him hurt for the year, I think Glass now has got a shot.
Mm-hmm.
I think Blake Snell, maybe Jose Barrios, and maybe even a pitcher here that we haven't talked about the whole time, Kluber with Texas.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how that stadium's going to play. He's going to play big. He's going to play small.
Yeah.
He's going to be healthy this year. He's a really good pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe something like that. Maybe Jesus Luzardo, the rookie. Maybe A.G. Puck. Those are some real underdog guys. But I think overall, maybe Glass now. I think it's going to be maybe Cole.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the NL, I got Jack Flaherty. That's how he's going to win his Cy Young. He's going to have to, he's going to be at the top of the wins. He's going to be towards the top of strikeouts. He's going to, lead the league in ERA. Some other guys you're going to look at. You can mention Scherzer, which we haven't talked about. Strasburg. I just don't see those two guys actually making it the whole year without some sort of, injury that's going to really limit them.
I agree.
But maybe DeGrom, maybe Syndergaard. You can look at Bueller. Obviously, it's another chance. You can look at maybe even Chris Paddock. There's another dog guy for you. I really like Luis Castillo. I think he's got a shot. Aaron Nola. Those are some names for you. But overall, I think AL Tyler Glass now and NL Jack Flaherty.
Yeah. I'm going to sound like a broken record here again, but I've got Garrett Cole and Tyler Glass now being the top ERA guys. I don't see... I do have Garrett Cole as the ERA leader, but I don't... If there's one stat that he has the biggest chance of not winning, I'd say it's ERA, because he's going to have the strikeouts, he's going to have the wins for sure. The ERA might go up a little bit, which is, he's still going to have a good ERA, but I could see Glass now easily winning the ERA. And there's guys we didn't mention, like you said, like, Mike Minor, another guy from the Rangers that could have a really good ERA. Mike Clevenger, Carlos Carrasco, guys in the Indians. I mean, throw some names out there. They're going to have a good...
Shane Bieber.
Yeah, you're going to have a good pitching season. So not to knock those guys. I just think that Garrett Cole, Glass now, and these guys are just a little bit of a league above. Not to talk down about the other guys. I just think that they're just that much better.
Sure.
And then NL again, DeGrom and Flaherty. I've got DeGrom winning it. Just because I think that's the stat he's going to need, like he has needed, is that ERA stat. Yeah. But I think he will, like I said with DeGrom earlier, I think he'll have the wins this year too. But I think that, again, with these guys that I've mentioned a million times, 1 and 2, DeGrom and Flaherty are going to really battle it out for that Cy Young. But like you said, I mean, ERA, it could go a bunch of places. Could be Luis Castillo, could be Sonny Gray, could be Aaron Nola. That's a good name to always throw out there. Scherzer is always a name to throw out there. Strasburg, but like you said, injury comes into question, and Scherzer has shown some signs of getting a little older.
Yeah, a deep run last year.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's going to play a big factor. So you could even call some of my picks here safe, but I think that they're somewhat obvious. I think that that's just the way it's going to be.
And one thing, I haven't mentioned these two guys here, but there's 2 pitchers I think to look for throughout the year for fantasy purposes, whatever you want to, look for. But I think Dylan Bundy, with his top talent he had, now he's with the Angels, different situation out west, whatever. I think he's got a chance of having a really good year.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the NL, I always rooted for John Gray. There's a guy who really had a good year last year. He was in like the 3.8. Then he got that that foot fracture. You didn't know he had, and he had it.
Yeah.
He had a really good year going. There's a guy too who's got some really good stuff. He's really kind of putting it all together in a tough place to pitch. And you never know. There's a chance he could get traded. If he gets traded to a team down the stretch like the Cardinals or something like the Phillies, I mean, he could be really put up some really monster numbers.
Yeah.
So those are two names I like for people to kind of think about pitching wise. Dylan Bundy in the AL and John Gray in the NL. I think those are two underdog guys. I don't know if they'll win any of these categories or be in the running for them, but they definitely got some real good talent, and they really could, show off and be a big part of their teams.
Yeah, even be comeback player of the year candidates. You know what I mean? With John Gray with his injury and Dylan Bundy with his inconsistency and such high hopes they had for Dylan Bundy. So
Sure.
Another name I like to just while we're wrapping up here, just another name to throw out there, Sean Manaea over at the A's. I mean, he's got like really good stuff, and he almost gets forgotten about, lost in the shuffle. So a lot of the A's players get lost in the shuffle, unfortunately. So they're finally, a lot of those guys finally starting to get their due. But some guys to think about and watch, and hopefully the season gets started sooner rather than later, and these guys can really put up some good stats. I mean, obviously the stats are going to be skewed, and all the records here that we've given out are going to be probably different. But I mean,
there's some talks, and we're not going to get into it really. But the hope is May, beginning of May, maybe more realistic is probably mid-May. Talks about 3 weeks they're going to need to get back into shape or whatever.
Yeah.
Some talks about maybe doing some double headers, taking some extra off days, running the season long, playing in neutral sites. So there's still a chance at 162. It's getting thinner by the day.
Yeah.
We're kind of running out of, hope with that, but there is still some hope. You might see them on 140, which isn't too bad.
No.
120, 100 wouldn't, we want to have a season though. So any games are good.
Yeah,
let's hope it's more than 100 though. But 120, 140. But let's hope for 162. Let's hope we get baseball here soon. Let's hope for maybe mid-May.
Yeah.
Kind of get the real warm weather in the summer come in and get baseball because we all need something to do and watch, and baseball's always kind of been there, even through all of the bad times, the wars and everything. It's always kind of been there, so we kind of need it back along with all other sports, basketball, hockey, everything. So let's hopefully get back to normal here soon, and we can watch some baseball.
Yeah, I agree. I'm starting to get antsy, but if I do say so, if I can speak for everyone else, probably too, getting a little antsy. I don't know how everyone else is doing. We're all cooped up here in New Jersey, and I'm working from home, and I'm sure a lot of people are working from home, or not. God forbid, not even working. Unfortunately for some people. So like you said, I mean, sports are a big part of everyone's escape from reality for a little bit, and we don't even have that right now, especially with basketball and hockey being such a critical point in their season. We lost March Madness. I mean, it's such a bad time for sports, but sooner rather than later, hopefully we got it started. And like you said, hoping for more than 100 games would be ideal.
Yeah,
but
hopefully we can. Someone can wake up from this bad dream and kind of get back to reality here, because it almost seems like it's not real.
I know, it's weird.
Until you flip the TV on and you go through 1,000 channels and you don't see anything baseball except maybe a baseball game from the 70s and a football game from 5 years ago. And I watched the iRacing race. On national TV yesterday.
That's weird.
So that was my that's what I did for an hour, a couple hours, whatever it was, and I'm like all pumped up about it because that's like the only thing I got.
Yeah.
So I mean, we need something.
Yeah.
We need something back here. But we'll be back. Baseball will be back, better than ever. And hopefully soon. And we're gonna keep pumping out episodes, and we'll keep giving updates. We'll keep doing some different episodes, and we got some plans for our listeners out there, so we'll definitely have some excitement still in our episodes. We'll have Brian back here. He couldn't make it today. We wanted him to have it, but with the situations going on, it just didn't make sense to have him here. But we'll have him, back on the show. Maybe we'll have some other guests. We'll have some other things going on that are keep you guys excited and give you some updates throughout the our delayed season here.
Yeah, we're still mulling over what we're going to do in the meantime while the season is still on hold. This was supposed to be our big episode before the season started, so we didn't really, no one was really prepared for this. So at the top of the show next week, we'll explain what we're going to be doing for that week, maybe the weeks ahead.
But it just kind of seems, why not, kind of make our podcast and kind of set everything up, and had a trip for the summer kind of set up for some baseball stadiums, and then this happened, so it just kind of seems like the way it goes for me and Mike here. But we'll figure it all out. We'll have some episodes for you. We'll keep baseball in your mind, and we'll be here for you.
Yeah. All right, guys. That wraps up our 7-part prediction series and a nice little bow here. So keep an eye out next week for whatever the hell we're going to talk about. Something baseball. We'll decide and we'll let you know what's going on with that. So until then, you can follow me on Twitter at RealMikeLepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at FDubs10.
And you can follow our official Screwball podcast Twitter at ScrewballPod. Follow us on Facebook at ScrewballPod, no E in Screw. And that's it from us, guys, this week, guys. We'll see you next week.
Take care.